focusing across software and marketing about the guest experience. And I feel pretty strongly about this because I really look at OTA channels as a feeder market for us. And how can we talk to those guests specifically? And the core of that data always comes through your software. So where those reservations are and how we can kind of start designing an unforgettable guest experience.
For any of you who joined us in our webinar last month, today's discussion is going to be kind of a deeper dive into one of the three strategies that we talked about to boost revenue, like Robin said. We're going to talk about all the different periods throughout the vacation guest life cycle and how to approach those from a marketing standpoint. And then we're going to get even more granular and actually discuss revenue opportunities within the cycle that it's kind of easy to overlook, but we'll give you some tips on how to capitalize on those. Up first, make it a trip of a lifetime. This is our industry, and especially when we're working with thousands and thousands of guests all the time, it's very easy to forget how important this is to them. Their vacation is really, really special to them and whoever they might be there with. So just keeping that in mind and kind of getting away from treating it as a very transactional thing. Just don't lose sight of the fact that this is supposed to be fun. And this is kind of like a training opportunity too for your team. Everybody on your team should have that mindset that the guest is first and foremost and really want to be putting them first. Next up, building a strong brand. Their journey starts when they find you and continues long after they leave. Every touch point matters. And Robin kind of touched on this a second ago. Like, even if you're relying really heavily on OTAs, this is even more important to you potentially, because once you kind of get them in the door and they have a great time with you, you can hopefully create a repeat customer out of that OTA guest.
Yeah, like that first OTA booking when the consumer books through the marketplace, they've earned you that consumer, right? The next time, it's your consumer to lose, right? Do we do the things so that we can reach out to them next year? Do we know about them, when they're coming to stay, what type of guest they are? It's all there for the taking. It's just a matter of whether or not we have a process whereby we can find those things out. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think we will talk about different automations to set up, but I absolutely agree with you, Jared. Again, I look at it as a marketing channel. We do need to speak to these guests a little more specifically, and we will talk about automations and kind of the language that we speak to those guests needs to be slightly different because they obviously didn't realize that an in-house property management company was available. And so that's where really we want to build up this trip experience offering that you have to those guests, make sure they know the value of booking direct with you, incentivize them and talk to them a little more frequently than maybe your first time direct booking guest. They have trusted to book direct on your site, and then your repeat guests you want to really speak to in a familiar voice because they continually come back to you. And so I do want to talk about how we can set up those segmentations, and we'll kind of get into it. The first slide, Megan, you can jump forward. This is where our OTA guests and everybody else is sort of shopping. We really do want to be in front of them with kind of the dreaming and inspiration phase. And that's where we win with search engine optimization, pay-per-click. Email marketing's a little harder, but we do talk about a couple tips in here to help get them into that dreaming and inspiration conversation. So Grace, will you talk through some of these marketing opportunities that people can fire up to really make sure we're in front of people that are searching for our destinations?
Yeah, you kind of like touched on it. It's sort of like dating. Like, you're not quite dating yet. You're just trying to catch somebody's attention, maybe like across the room. Storytelling is a great way to do that, and talking about experiences that people can have, in your market, in your community. Putting up captivating social media content. Definitely want to have some great photography, just catching people's eyes, inspiring their imagination. Family-friendly vacation ideas shared in emails, or really just any kind of inspiration that you can share with them in outreach. Highlighting your community. A lot of community events could really be enticing for people to come spend time and learn more about your market. You mentioned SEO, definitely things like best family getaways for 2005. We're using families in this example, but it could be, whatever. It could be the best pet-friendly getaways for spring or whatever you want to highlight. And then just, getting your brand out there.
We were actually at our Rise and Shines in the Outer Banks last week, it's such a fun market to visit. And it does have a high frequency of repeat guests. Those people have been going for years and years and years. But newer guests are still looking for new markets. And I do think the Outer Banks in particular can be kind of intimidating. And so that's where that storytelling piece really makes these people who are in the dreaming and inspiration phase feel comfortable that they know where they're going. They have ideas. It kind of gives them a level of comfort to know that this property manager is the authority in the space. We're going to help you design the vacation of your dreams. You're not just booking a house and you're on your own. Like, we're here to really support you in this building process. So I like the storytelling part of that. We can go on to number 2. Planning and research. So this is a clutch piece to get in front of customers, and there's different tools we can put on your website, and like such as this little pop-up that Hobbs has. I think, again, this lends itself to really making the guest feel comfortable. Like, I want to be included in your communications. I haven't decided to book yet, but here's all the reasons why you should come back and book with us. Jared, do you have anything to talk about here as far as what you like to see to capture new potential guests, those that haven't started the booking process and they're just kind of checking stuff out?
Yeah, I would say a routine review of your heat maps of what's popular with guests to see what they're looking for and ensure that we're always giving the people what we want, right, on our virtual showcase, so that we give them those bread and circuses. So if we see that there are more folks that are looking for a specific community or building we might be operating in, and that search is trending, we want to make sure that we're showcasing those specific units to meet that consumer need. And it's not a one and done thing, right? We can't look at it once and it's good to go. It's something that we do need to tinker with, is the important thing to stress here.
Yeah, I think that's also clutch, and making sure you're building out targeted content that does flow the customer to an easy conversion point, such as, like, to Jared's comment, if we really know that people love properties with elevators. This is a weird example, but properties with elevators. We want to make sure we're sending those people to a landing page that has homes with elevators in it, and also potentially writing blogs about it, like supporting that conversation. I do think where we leave some money on the table, I think we talk about this in a couple other slides, is really putting our cancellation policy and travel insurance options, like cancel for any reason, for example, in front of the guest. I think that builds a sense of trust. So if I do book and something happens, I understand that this company has my support. Again, OTAs can't do that for us. And so that really gives you kind of a benefit, especially for a guest, an OTA guest that's coming back to rebook, knowing that they can have travel insurance protection is a good clip. Let's talk through booking confirmation. You want to go through some upsells at checkout?
Yeah. So, once you get to this point in your booking journey, you're ready to book the house. I think oftentimes, there are going to be fees that show up at checkout that people might not be expecting. So sometimes, there might be a little bit of sticker shock when they go to pay, and it's quite a bit higher than they initially expected. So it's possible that some of the upsells you're presenting there are not getting there. You're not converting there. Like, you're maybe not getting pool heat, or that travel insurance, they're not ready to add it on just yet. Or, linens, they're like, I just like really stretch my budget. I'm going to do that myself. I'm going to bring my own linens. But just keep in mind, they just pulled the trigger, and there's probably going to be another opportunity to talk about some of those things. So if you're not seeing really good conversions at checkout for those types of add-ons, I really recommend circling back and coming at them again, maybe at a later date. It could be, depending on your booking window or depending on when they booked, it could even be a week later, maybe a month later. But I'm going to guess that on that second or third pass, you're going to start to see people take advantage of those.
Robin, I think we talked about this earlier, right? Like, how much conversion is too much conversion on these line items? So I'll leave it to our esteemed guests to think about that answer. But really, we want to be, because they are going to be going through that pain of like, oh, it's how much to go this July 4th, right? When they buy, we want to remind them and text them, send them notifications on a guest stat, make it displayed prominently on a rental agreement. All of these opportunities for them to say, protect your vacation rental, investment today with something like travel insurance, cancel for any reason, right? With your upsells, they're going to add value to their stay, so that we can convert on those. Because we all know they want the pool heat. They just forgot, right? Ultimately. So we want to it's our job to know what consumers expect in our market and to be proactive with offering those things so that we meet their expectations, really.
Again, yeah, and again, this like build out of the available vacation items, it really makes you look authoritative. Like you may not think you need these, but I have these opportunities for you, whether you want them today or not. So again, we will go through some other touch points to get these exclusive revenue. I love that word because this is all bottom line, like non-commissionable revenue for you guys. This is the stuff that pays for marketing, et cetera. But different touch points to get this through. But as a guest, I feel like, wow, that's really cool that I can come back and add beach towels. The other thing I would love to see here that we can do in follow-up touch points as well is early check-in, late checkout, or a mid-stay clean potentially if this house is conducive. I think people like to know that that's an option. A mid-stay clean is great for Saturday to Saturday stays.
And those early and late checkouts, I mean, there's absolutely no cost to you to perform those. That is like straight up revenue. It's free money. And if anything, it probably is going to help you on the operation side so that you're staggering those check-ins a little bit better. The more, I mean, I would recommend maybe having a set number that you can sell for each day, each check-in day, and try to hit it every time.
And you could even include messaging on something they may have forgotten to add. Like a big one where we find a lot of money is the guests that conveniently forget they're bringing their pet and they have to pay the pet fees. But if we send them a reminder, right, like a week before their stay, that if they're bringing their furry friend, right, it is allowed, but they would need to pay that pet fee. So that's something we can just get out ahead of it, even if it's something that we'd need them to pay anyways, right? We can just avoid that awkward conversation when they arrive.
And that kind of like bleeds into pre-trip preparation, right? Like maybe when I booked the house, I did book a pet-friendly house, but I wasn't really sure if I was going to bring my dogs. Like really getting in front of the guests, again, building that trust and authoritativeness with specific questions. Like this is your second pass to get an opportunity for them. This question, is there a grocery store nearby? That's another great, I know with Streamline in their marketplace, they've got a company called Nosh, which does do concierge refrigerator stocking or something like that. I don't know the right way to say it, Jared, but I think that's really going to be a great partnership coming up because a lot of companies are doing it, and it's a great service to your guests. I definitely don't want to take 3 kids to the grocery store when I get in market. Talk about a few of these other kind of questions here, Jared, as far as pre-trip preparation, like what should we be thinking about?
Yeah, I think it's important when we review like how we set those so many of our industry is expectations. So when we set those expectations with the guests, we want to meet them where they're coming from. How we set expectations with an Airbnb guest is going to be different than how we set expectations with that direct guest who's booked with us twice already and they're coming back for the 3rd time, right? And if we create the same process for all those folks, we're setting ourselves up to fail because they may not get those emails if they're coming from one channel versus another, right? Unless we have a process for it. So by meeting them and maybe filling out like the guidebook that has some of these details for local stuff near them and uploading that against your profile on that platform, we're getting them that information easier, more available without your team potentially having to get on a call to explain what that might look like, so taking up your staff's time that they could be spending booking a new guest, right? So
yeah, and I think communicating like to how some of the services you are offering, some of the exclusive revenue opportunities for you guys as property managers will actually alleviate stress on the guests end. Like, again, people that have been coming back to stay with you, they already are going to know that you sell beach towels or can extend your stay. But these newer guests, they want to know like, where to park, what if there's an emergency, things like that. So I think it's just stepping back and reviewing your language and how you present yourself to these pods of customers and just freshening that up to make sure you're checking a lot of boxes that could then lead into additional revenue for you.
Yeah, and there should be a means of tweaking that messaging, without reinventing the whole wheel based on where the consumer's coming from, right?
And then I kind of look this pre-trip preparation or pre-trip communication could probably be more than one, it could be maybe 2 or 3, but that kind of final one is where I see like definitely take one more try, like try to get them in early. That's a really good time. Like they're just trying to pack the car and realizing how like little room they have left for things like beach chairs or sheets and towels, like never a bad idea to hit that again. But also could be a great time to communicate if there might be like a gap night on the other side of their reservation. They might want to start thinking about like, oh, there we can stay an extra day. You can start planting the seed, or potentially another day on the front end of their reservation. And again, that's just additional revenue. That house was going to sit there empty unless you can potentially entice an incoming guest who's already coming anyway to maybe stay for an extra night or two.
Yeah, the extend your stay, especially on those weekly rentals, is a great opportunity.
Yeah, we've actually switched that in my system so that it's automated, but it's texting. So this ties in very nicely with the like on-trip experiences, right? Because we do like a how's everything going text to guests. We used to email it. Believe it or not, guys, guests do not read their emails when they are on vacation. So we switched it to text, got a much better reply rate because as a vacation rental manager, my least favorite thing, okay, least favorite out of all the things is a 3-star review. It was something about the fridge and we could have fixed it, right? So that just irks me to no end. If we can create, that proactive, how's everything going text, even better if you can have a sign off of your own name, even if it's automated, right? Or a member of your team. So it's personalized. And then also even combining that with, hey, and special guest, we'd like to see if you'd like to extend your stay at a discounted rate for this one other night, can really be powerful. And the impact it has both on revenue and on your NPS scores.
Yeah, that's kind of where winning when things go wrong is just we have to really take accountability for having multiple touch points, even QR codes in every unit that go to a chat potentially with someone that can help them if the fridge does break, if they're unhappy. Different ways to appease those situations are give them a free mid-stay clean or extend the night, give them an extend your stay. If things do go wrong, we have some levers to pull to keep those 3-star reviews from coming in. And so just being kind of cognizant of that. I love the be a host part. Again, that's where we will win over OTAs as long as we're stepping up to the plate and really being hosts. Again, that's having branded materials in your units, QR codes, ways for guests to get a hold of you. Welcome gifts and family perks. Those are great. There's a lot of different companies out there that can help with perks and reward software, or sorry, not software systems. Being able to provide things like surfboards or horseback riding trips, getting that information in front of the guests because, they can't do that otherwise. Without booking direct, they can't really build their vacation experience. When they do book direct, they should be able to really build the whole thing. We're not selling houses anymore. We're selling a vacation experience and that has, people want to do stuff when they're on vacation. Grace, anything to add there?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, this is not something that I don't think property managers need to put too much time into thinking of things, because I'm going to guess that there are plenty of local businesses in your market who would love to get in front of your guests and work with them and invite them, to their event or to their store or whatever's going on. Loop them in, get them involved in this messaging and in this stay and see what they might have to offer. I remember we had a company who they had a climbing wall. And they were like, we'll bring our climbing wall to your property on check-in day, which sounded outrageous. But then, it wasn't too long before every property manager locally was fighting over that climbing wall because it gave everybody something to do during check-in day rather than, knocking on the door and wondering where their keys were. They're out there on the climbing wall, and this company had just hours and hours and hours to market, their business and their team, not just to our guests, but to everybody driving by who was like, what is going on? So chances I don't have a climbing wall in your area, but you probably have somebody who would love to get in front of your guests.
But the experience, I love that because just getting that little taste of having fun right at the check-in experience is such an amazing way to kick off a vacation. And you really, truly don't forget that. So if there's something you can do to create fun right out of the gate, that's kind of unforgettable rather than just here's your COPPA code, check-ins at 3 p.m., take out the trash when you leave kind of thing. Make it fun. I don't think it's not a big lift. And again, you can really pod this, break it up on your portfolio and maybe just focus on 25 homes that you're going to try and change the experience with and see if those reviews get better so you don't feel overwhelmed. It doesn't have to roll out everywhere. But as far as like in-house materials or let's try and change up these 15 check-ins and see what we could do a little bit better, you can try to make it easy on you and do kind of an A/B test with what your tactics are and how big of a lift it was for your team to make that shift.
Like one text, another text, what sells more travel insurance, or right? Like what does the thing more, and we do that one, we make more of that. So yeah.
I mean, we live our lives on A/B testing over here in the marketing world, and
Yep.
it's so fascinating to me, and we can do it with real tangible things too, not just digital stuff. So I think it makes a difference. I mean, beach balls, I definitely love the QR code, taking them to a chat or a contact form. I don't want to forget the upsells like Gap Nights, Mid-Stay Cleans, but rebooking incentives, even talking to guests while they're in-house, in market on their vacation. It's not, obviously we do want to offer Gap Nights, cleans and late checkouts like while they're in the house. But the next year booking incentive is great to know, like they may not take action on it while they're sitting there, but they'll know like that kind of gives like a good resonation, like this person's thinking about me, they already want me to come back, and they're giving me a good incentive to do it. Awesome. This one has been really, really powerful. Again, post-trip reflection and sharing. Not every guest does it, but when they do, it can be really, really powerful content to us. Again, we definitely we want people to walk out the door feeling like we want them back as property managers. And so we definitely want reviews. Reviews are probably 90% of the booking decision. They've got an incentive to rebook with us, so that's already a positive note. And then being able to show them similar units, and we can do that with reservation integration and knowing the booking data that we get into our CRM system, we can suggest alternate properties to them. Jared, what did you guys do for reviews? Like, what was your most successful method to get reviews on your properties?
I'm so glad you asked. So along the review, so there's a smart way of doing it, right? So that, when you do reach out to that guest for a review, you can design the process in such a way that it's going to take a different action based on whether they're upset or happy, right? If my guest is clicking the 5-star review option when they are checking out, it's taking them then to a Google review page, or right nowadays, there are even tools you can use, guys, that, forgive me, I did not have my buddy text me back what he uses, but they'll syndicate your reviews across multiple platforms. So I've heard really good things from a few different property managers about those. But additionally, it can take a different action if they're reviewing us 5 stars or 1 star. 1 star can create that internal messaging thread for us perhaps to, say, hey, owner, someone else complained about the wicker furniture. It's really time we upgrade this, okay? So, we can action it internally if they leave that 1 star, so it doesn't create a Google review. If they click the 5-star icon, it can take them then to Google or wherever you'd like them to leave that review, really. So we can design that process to be thoughtful, right? So that we can get the best possible result, to action things that need actioned, and then proliferate things that need proliferated.
Right. Yeah. And I think, I do get questions a lot on loyalty programs, and there's some companies like Beach Ball, for example, they've done a great job. Elliott Realty, they've done a really good job. They're kind of hard to manage, but I think with our software and data, it's actually pretty easy to pull apart who our repeat guests are and analyze their frequency, and give them, and even if it's just an incentive to sort of make it look like we have a structured loyalty program, but in fact, we just know that you've been staying with us a while, so you get like this added bonus, or maybe it's a better in-house gift, like maybe it's a charcuterie board if you've stayed with us more than 5 times. And with your software, you can easily identify those people, send out a work order that we've got 10 charcuterie board customers coming to check in this week. So the automations with your property care and different requests that you can do based on guest profile is really pretty, not too hard. And you don't have to have like a super structured loyalty program. You can just base it on guest data. So, okay, that leads right into loyalty and repeat travel. These re-engagement emails, Grace, you want to talk us through this a little bit?
Yeah, so on the right-hand side, you can actually see, we included an example, just kind of, yeah, re-engaging the guests, keeping your brand and their vacation top of mind so that when it comes time to rebook or start planning again, they know just where to come and you're in the inbox, so they can just search you. But personalized re-engagement emails, exclusive return guest promotions, which we've been talking about already. Set up an automation to reach out 3 to 5 times after their trip to stay top of mind and well connected. That is probably best practice, but I know that that's not always possible to do. So maybe you do like a booking anniversary type of thing where you reach out to them when they booked the same time last year, like, hey, it's time to get on it. This is when you booked your last vacation. So now's the time to start thinking about it. Things like that, and personalizing their email experience. We're going to talk about that a little bit more on the next slide, but there is a lot of power in personalizing and segmenting and automating these guest communications throughout the year. Because, to be honest, you're not going to be thinking about your July guest probably in February, but if your automations are already all over it, then they're going to feel like you are, which is exactly what we want.
Yeah, and I think for the PMs on this, I think the inspiration, at least for me, comes from what can I do today with the tools I have to get a guest to rebook, like lowest cost per acquisition or lowest acquisition cost ever, which is really email marketing, because these are all automations you're setting up. If that guest books that you literally paid hardly anything to retain that guest, and you did it with brand recognition, you did it with good communication. And I think that's super important to kind of look at your toolbox, what's in your toolbox today, and what could I set up to what automations could I set up? Because ideally it's an automation to set up to get that guest to rebook.
And to that end, knowing is half the battle, right? Like, if you know, and our colleague Tiffany said this the other week, and but how so many folks can't define what is their 5-star guest experience, right? So it's so important once you know what that is. When do these people book from these certain market segments? And goodness, I hope you all are using a BI tool to look at what guests come and stay with you when. So that way we can be in their inbox or in a text message to them conveniently before their kids are going to be on spring break, saying, hey, what are you going to do with those kids? They're going to drive you nuts, right? Wouldn't it be great if we were on the beach or in the mountains, and you could let them run around? So we want to be contacting people at the opportune time, right? Ultimately.
Right. So we did want to talk, or Grace, did something pop up in the chat that with the team?
The only thing that popped up in the chat is that we do have an exit survey here. I believe it's the one on the right, and the date says 2024, which we are aware that it's not, and we just weren't that it said that when we put that on there. So
Gotcha.
Just wanted if there's any confusion.
We are aware it's 2025.
Yeah, we're on it. But
yeah. And then we're doing another webinar in a couple weeks, which should be pretty fun. Love Languages, which I thought was a really funny title. And our Rise and Shines, we're going all around the country right now. It's a great team. We're talking about really the life cycle of a property owner, what that looks like. We really touch on homeowner acquisition strategies, which this webinar will be focused on. We talk about market data. We talk about government advocacy. We talk about software optimization. We talk about payment processing benefits, travel insurance, how to sell it, how to capitalize it, how to make more money with your travel insurance products. So I don't think we have a link to the Rise and Shines, but if you scan the one on the right, you can definitely set up a call with our team and we can talk about it. We're headed to Bend, Oregon. Then we will be out in Charleston and Hilton Head, then Maui and Kauai, and then for whatever reason, the next markets are escaping me, but we love these in-market visits. We've gotten such good feedback on these Rise and Shine. So I hope you can join us.
That's an easy one to Google too, if anybody's curious. If you Google Rise and Shine Inhabit, you'll come right to the page and you can see the full list of cities and the dates.